The StarShip spacecraft, designed for future human travel to Mars, recently underwent its inaugural integrated launch. Unfortunately, the highly anticipated long-distance flight was cut short only 4 minutes after liftoff from SpaceX's launch site in southern Texas. The separation of the StarShip stage from the Super Heavy rocket was expected, but both experienced a rapid and scheduled disassembly, a term coined by Elon Musk and SpaceX colleagues to describe a rocket explosion. The objective of this test flight was to reach an altitude of 146 miles and orbit the Earth before splashing down. The Super Heavy rocket was intended to land off the coast of Texas, while the StarShip was scheduled to land in the waters near Hawaii 90 minutes after launch. Watch until the end to see when Elon Musk plans SpaceX Starship's next launch. Although the initial integrated flight test of StarShip had an unforeseen outcome, SpaceX considers it a triumph and an opening for betterment in upcoming trials. SpaceX expressed on Twitter that the knowledge obtained from such tests is what determines success, and the current mission will aid in improving Starship's dependability as SpaceX continues to strive for human colonization of multiple planets. Despite the malfunction becoming apparent during launch, causing the StarShip stack to spin and resulting in white smoke plumes, the crowd at SpaceX's Starbase in Texas, who had been enthusiastically cheering throughout the countdown, continued to show support. The triumph of the colossal 390-foot StarShip rocket holds crucial consequences for SpaceX and its CEO and co-founder Elon Musk, who has consistently voiced his aspiration to establish a multi-planetary civilization. Furthermore, NASA has a keen interest in this test flight, which has been postponed multiple times since 2021, as it will determine if SpaceX can fulfill its agreements to provide moon landers for Artemis missions. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration is also keeping a close watch on the launch to ensure the safety of the public in the launch site vicinity, following an extensive assessment of the potential dangers linked with SpaceX's Starship program. Prior to this week, SpaceX has divulged little information about the launch. Despite signs that the launch was imminent, such as the FAA incorporating it into their operations plan advisory with backup dates until April 22nd, and officials in Cameron County, Texas announcing the Boca Chica Beach and State Highway 4 would be closed on April 17th, with possible backups on the following 2 days, it was not until the afternoon of April 14th that SpaceX was granted the essential launch license by the FAA. The FAA has been conducting a comprehensive environmental review of SpaceX's launch and test operations in Texas, which establishes the rules for launch and re-entry, since the autumn of 2021. In June of last year, the agency mandated that the company address 75 concerns to reduce air and water pollution, decrease harm to local communities, and mitigate threats to plants and animals in the neighboring wildlife refuge and on the shore. The FAA's evaluation process for SpaceX's launch and test operations at Boca Chica is expected to be the agency's lengthiest, partially because Boca Chica is a new site unlike the Kennedy Space Center and Cape Canaveral launch sites in Florida. Moreover, SpaceX has altered its plans several times, necessitating fresh evaluations by regulators. According to Kelvin Coleman of the FAA's Office of Commercial Space Transportation, the FAA has issued a license for SpaceX to conduct a suborbital flight of its Starship prototype. Throughout the test, SpaceX will be available to appraise the vehicle's performance and safety. The FAA's license is valid for 5 years, and any subsequent Starship launches will require a license amendment from the agency. The company has modified the vehicle and its trajectory to address concerns about public safety, as is customary in a test program. Launching a spacecraft into orbit for the first time is a challenging task, and setbacks are not uncommon. For instance, Relativity's Space 3D printed rocket faced engine problems during its March launch, preventing it from reaching orbit. Similarly, NASA's Space Launch System and Orion entered multiple delays related to valves before successfully completing their first flight last autumn. According to Kelvin Coleman from the FAA's Office of Commercial Space Transportation, approximately 11% of FAA's licensed launches end in failure. As there is a possibility of explosions or falling debris causing harm, the FAA is dedicated to ensure the safety of the public and the environment. In the event of an incident, the FAA would investigate any potential impact on local communities or wildlife habitats. During a Twitter Spaces event exclusively for subscribers on April 16th, Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX, expressed concerns about potential damage to the launch pad in the event of a failed Starship flight. He indicated that the probability of success was only 50%. He also updated that the next spaceship launch will be done in the next 6 to 8 weeks. SpaceX has encountered various challenges while testing StarShip prototypes, such as tank burst during a pressure test in 2019, an explosion during a rocket engine test in 2020, and several lower-altitude flight tests that resulted in explosions. However, the company's first attempt at the orbital test flight on April 17th was postponed due to a frozen valve in the booster rocket's pressurization system, similar to the issues NASA faced last year. The Super Heavy rocket by SpaceX, powered by liquid methane and oxygen and featuring 33 Raptor engines, has the potential to compete with NASA's SLS rocket. Both rockets are heavy-lift launch vehicles capable of carrying astronauts and large payloads to destinations such as the Moon and Mars. While SLS Block 2, designed for future Moon missions, will be almost as tall as the combined height of StarShip and Super Heavy, the latter can transport a significantly larger payload and is expected to be much more cost-effective because of its ability to be reused. As a frequent commercial partner of NASA and a recipient of billions of dollars in agency investments, SpaceX is responsible for ensuring the proper functionality of StarShip. NASA has set ambitious goals for space exploration with its Artemis missions, aiming to send humans back to the Moon by 2024. To achieve this, SpaceX has been awarded contracts for the Artemis 3 and 4 missions in 2025 and 2028, respectively. As part of these contracts, SpaceX is required to modify the StarShip spacecraft to transport astronauts from an Orion capsule in lunar orbit to the Moon's surface and back. NASA plans to use StarShip for future lunar mining missions, which involves extracting resources like water ice for fuel and other purposes. In addition, the spacecraft could potentially be used for refueling flights during the journey from Earth to Mars, according to Phil Metzger, a planetary scientist at the University of Central Florida who specializes in space economics. SpaceX failures. Despite facing failures, SpaceX has made significant progress in space travel. The company has been able to learn from its mistakes and make necessary changes to its technology and processes. One of the most prominent failures occurred in 2016 when a Falcon 9 rocket exploded during a routine pre-launch test, destroying the rocket and its payload. The cause of the explosion was traced back to a faulty fueling system, prompting SpaceX to modify its fueling procedures and improve its rocket design. Similarly, in 2015, a Falcon 9 rocket carrying a Dragon spacecraft to the International Space Station disintegrated shortly after liftoff due to a faulty strut in the rocket's second stage. SpaceX addressed the issue by redesigning the strut and improving its quality control procedures to prevent similar failures. Although SpaceX has encountered a number of setbacks, each instance has provided invaluable insights and lessons that have contributed to the company's triumph. By consistently learning from its mistakes and implementing necessary improvements, SpaceX has become a leading force in the space industry today. A critical factor in SpaceX's success has been the development of reusable rocket technology. This innovation has drastically reduced the expense of space travel, making it more attainable to a broader audience. However, this achievement was not easily attained, as the company had to endure multiple failures before eventually succeeding with its reusable rocket technology. Another way that SpaceX has improved its operations is through its focus on innovation and experimentation. The company has been willing to try new things and take risks, even if it means experiencing failures along the way. This approach has enabled SpaceX to make significant progress in areas such as rocket design, propulsion systems, and space travel logistics. What do you think regarding the StarShip explosion? Let us know in the comments section below, and make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.